Hey everybody, and welcome to Nerd3, episode 3. Today we bring you the power of 3 with your hosts Nick, Nate, and the ever-rotating third chair, the FatalOtaku. Nate, how you doing?
I am very tired.
Yes,
Very
I am too.
tired. This past week, going into my wife and I moving and E3, I didn't realize how much stress it was going to be. And
Right.
My God, am I a little overwhelmed.
Yeah. And FatalOtaku, let everybody know who you are, what you do, yada yada.
Hi, thanks for having me. My name's Adam. I go online by the FatalOtaku. I'm a Twitch streamer and an anime fan and a general gaming fan, and kind of just here to hang out and talk some E3 with you guys, so thanks for having me.
Yeah, definitely. I'm super excited. So first up, let's get the grinding out of the way. We have our Twitter at TX3 Productions. We're very close to like 50 people, so if we get there, we'll do a little giveaway. And then a little housekeeping from last episode. We forgot to bring up nerd points like we did before, and that was because like we got recording. I don't think we were recording yet, but Nate and I talked about nerd points, and then we just never actually brought it up while recording. So nerd points are a thing, and basically you get positive for getting like a lesser known fact, or maybe you say a really funny joke or something, you get a positive nerd point. Or if somebody calls you out for having the wrong information, you get a point for that, or negative if you get wrong. And nerd points for last time, we were going to base them on our E3 predictions. So let's tally up the points for me and Nate. And I'm going to say neither one of us did very well.
I don't think I got any points.
I don't think I did either. Mine were a remake, and I wanted it to be either CTR, Metal Gear Solid, or I wanted to see Blackout from Call of Duty, because I was like, they have to show something because they had to. And instead they're like, hey, here's some remasters of a thing, and you get Black Ops 3 for free for PlayStation Plus. It's like, okay, so no points there. What were your predictions again? Remind me.
I don't remember what the third one was. I do remember that the first two were that Splinter Cell was going to be showed at the conference. I was wrong there because it didn't get shown at all.
Yep.
And then oh no, I remember it was a Halo one. I remember I may get half a point there because I had said that they are going to show something Halo related, but it might not be Halo 6 or something along the lines of we won't get any kind of release for the new one, which is technically true because that one could be waited. And then the last one was Crackdown 3 is available now or available in the coming week, and that's obviously not true because that's coming next year.
So I you at least got 1 point, and then Pete, he had 3 predictions, which I'm going to insert now. Okay, so after watching the Nintendo Direct and tabulating the scores, here's what we have. So Pete's predictions was Smash on the Switch is a new game possibly built on the bones of Smash 4. I'm going to technically give this, I'm going to give this a full point because it is Smash and is a new Smash, and he even put in the part about possibly built on the bones of Smash 4. And even though maybe not specifically Smash 4, it is having every single character of all time Smash. So, I think he should get definitely the full point for that. 2, we'll see Pokemon, but people will be disappointed on how little we learn. So yes, I think he definitely gets a point for that. I'm going to say a half point though, because he specifically brings up how the Let's Go Pikachu and the Let's Go Eevee is unlikely. And funnily enough, I think the day of or the day after we put out that last episode is when they made that announcement trailer. And then they just did another announcement trailer at E3. So I'm going to give him a half point because he specifically said that the Let's Go Pikachu is, not true. And then his third one was New Animal Crossing in the same vein as Metroid Prime, which that didn't happen. So he has 1.5 points, and I had 0. God dang it, you jackasses. And Nate had a whopping 1 point. So that means the winner of last week's Nerd Points was Pete. Congratulations. We fucking hate you. But enough about that. Let's get to some happier times with the weekly grind. All right, so the weekly grind is going to be like, hey, what have we been up to? Obviously, E3 went on, so we're definitely going to be talking about that. But what have we been playing? What have we been watching? Let's start with our guest, FatalOtaku. What have you been doing?
Well, I've actually been putting a lot of time into Fortnite. I've been working a lot lately, so I haven't had a ton of time to actually sit down and properly play a game. So anytime I have even a few minutes, I'll jump into Fortnite with some friends, and
nice.
That's been going well. I got my first back-to-back win.
Oh, nice.
First, I had a solo win that followed up right by a duos win where my partner immediately left, and I was left by myself to fend off everything by myself. But it went pretty well, and I got a back-to-back win, so I'm pretty proud of that.
Nice.
So I think I think I've had 4 wins now. I'm still getting used to the game, but it's pretty good. I'm enjoying it.
Nice.
Besides that, I've been putting a little bit of time into Persona 5 still. I've been playing that game for probably the last 3 months, trying to get through it. I think I have 60 hours in, and I still have no idea whether I'm coming close to the end of that game.
Not even close. You're probably about halfway through, so you got another 3 months.
Yeah, exactly. I think I finished the 4th palace, which if anyone has played the game, they're probably more familiar with how far into it than I am since I haven't cleared it yet. But I just got the class went to a trip to Hawaii, for anyone who's familiar, so we just got to the Hawaii part, so...
I thought you were talking about in real life. I was like,
yeah, no. I know, right? I'm like, God, lucky.
So my question for you is, you mentioned off air that you're a streamer. Have you tried Realm Royale like a lot of people have?
I have not streamed it, but I did download and play a couple of games with some friends. That game it's fun. I've been having some hard times using the bow with the hunter class, but it's a fun game.
Yeah, that's definitely one when it comes out to the consoles, because my PC is crap, so I can only play on the console, really. When it comes out to the consoles, I definitely want to try it out. Right now, I've played, obviously, Fortnite and H1Z1. I mean, for my own personal reasons, I kind of like H1Z1 just a little bit more, but I'm always willing to check out other iterations of it and figure out what they do differently. And the forging and the classes, I think, definitely mix it up enough that, it's not just, oh, here's another one, which, anytime anybody puts out one, they're just like, oh, here's another Fortnite clone. Even though, obviously, realistically, they should be calling it like an H1Z1 clone or a PUBG clone, or even there's a meme out
Daisy.
there now. Yeah, Daisy, thank you. There's a meme out now where it's Meeseeks, and so why'd you rope me into this? I didn't rope me into this. He roped me into this. And it's like all the different battle royales. He didn't rope me in this. And then it goes all the way back to Minecraft Survive or something. So it's like, that's funny.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So Nate, what have you been up to?
Well, like I said at the top of the show, I've been mostly packing and mostly getting ready for that. So I haven't done a whole lot. I did do a couple things. My wife and I have been binging The Office recently, and we're kind of getting a little fatigue. So we started a show called Superstore, which basically is it's the perfect show for people who work in retail or have before, because it's such a comment on the actual people working in retail, like what they have to deal with. So like, for example, in the first episode, there's a guy that's walking by and there's a giant stacked up thing of toilet paper, and he like grabs one of them from the middle, and the ones on the top just fall down. And the woman who works there, she was like, no, it's cool, like, yeah, the middle ones are better quality than the ones at the top. And I had to pause it, and I turned to my wife. I was like, that irked me way more than it should have. That legitimately bothered me. But besides that, I just, when you said PUBG, it made me remember. Yesterday we were setting up our utilities, and I was setting an appointment for them to come install and turn on the internet at the new place. And we used Suddenlink. And you can do the electronic billing, so it doesn't send you a paper bill. And when I went to go set that up, that was like, here, set up a passphrase to log in with. And for whatever reason, I don't know why, the first thing that popped into my head and what I typed into that bar was winner, winner, chicken dinner. And I don't play PUBG. I don't know why. It just popped in my head, and I was like, that's funny. And so I put that, and I showed it to my wife, and she said, why the f*** did you pick that? I said, I don't know.
Let me be myself, damn it, woman.
But yeah, Superstore is really funny so far. We're about probably 7 or 8 episodes in.
Yeah.
If you guys have seen Laser Team, the Rooster Teeth movie they did a couple years ago, one of the guys in it, Colton Dunn, yeah, he's in Superstore as well, and he's just a great character. He's so funny. Nice. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me.
Yeah, that's on Netflix, right?
Hulu.
Hulu. Oh, okay, yeah. I have both, so yeah, I was like, I know I've seen it, so it's like one of those, like, I've always kind of went by it, and I'm like, So yeah, I might have to give it a try now that I have such a glowing review from you.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
It sounds funny. I'm gonna have to check it out as well.
Yeah, definitely. So what I've been up to is I've started something on the Discord. I started a new channel, or is that what it's called? I guess it's called a channel. Anyways, I started a new thing, the Daily Grind. Monday through Thursday, I'm going to be grinding out a new game every day. It's going to be in the nighttime, so mountain time, I don't know when. Usually it's going to be pretty late, because pretty much I'm going to be waiting for my girls to go to bed, and then I'm going to go play. And so that means, 9, 10 sometimes. But if you do want to join me, Monday is The Division, Tuesday is Elder Scrolls Online, Wednesday is Rainbow Six Siege, and Thursday I'm going to keep it open. So like if I feel like Division or Elder Scrolls again, then I might do that. Or if I just feel like something else, I'm going to do that. So I did my first one last night, which was Monday. So I did my first Division, and I mean, 2 things. One, I forgot just how good the game is. Even though like some characters can be kind of bullet spongy, it still just feels really good. It goes back to that tacticism, and I talked about it a little bit on Ubi Chat, so check that out. I liked Destiny, but the Division, so much better. I love it so much. And I know I've said this before, excuse me. I know I've said this before, but as soon as you make that ding and you go into the end game stuff, you've gotten done with everything, like loot is just so much more plentiful. And so granted, you are kind of just redoing like the daily missions, like in OG Destiny, the daily missions are just replaying the story missions, but at a harder difficulty. but they're fun. You know, like yesterday I had to play for a daily mission. I had to play one of the missions. It was the one where you're getting rid of like a giant fire tank, basically. So if you play Division, you know what I'm talking about. And I had to play through it on challenging. And what I didn't realize is that on challenging, every single enemy you'll go up against is the yellow characters. And so like it was definitely a different experience when every single one was that. But also you really get to know their weak spots. That's for damn sure. Because like there's a big heavy guy and he has a couple of different like propane tanks on him. So as long as you're like flanking him right, you know, he could be looking somewhere else and then I get his propane tank. He looks in a different direction and somebody else can get his grenade pouch. And then so, you know, he's very bullet spongy, but if you hit the right spots, you take out huge chunks of his life. And so yeah, just replaying that was really fun. And after that, I'm ready for Elder Scrolls Online. Like it was like,
can you steal his propane accessories?
I wish you can have his propane and propane accessories. And then another thing I did, we have, I don't know about you guys, I don't know if this is like an Idaho thing, but we have these cheap theaters. And so basically like right around the same time as a movie like coming out to DVD, like right before sometimes, they'll come to these cheap theaters. And so they're only typically like $3. And
I think it's just a small town thing. We're not a small town, but I think that's just a regional thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah. See, yeah, it's called Real Theater, so I don't know if it is original thing, but yeah, I mean, it's only $3, but we still get to go to the theater, and on Tuesday it's $1. Oh, wow. So, yeah, me, my wife, and my little girl, we went out and saw Ready Player One. It was one I wanted to watch from the very beginning, from whenever it first came out. Like I was willing to pay the full amount, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I loved it to the point where it was like, I don't know why everybody was so meh about it, you know? Have you guys seen it?
I have, actually.
Did you like it?
Well, I read the books. Well, I shouldn't say read the books. I've listened to the audiobooks for the book about 4 times over the last like couple of years. Mm-hmm. And I loved the book, so I was like immediately ready to go see the movie. And yeah, I enjoyed the movie quite a lot.
Really?
Yeah.
See, now, usually the people who read the book are the people who are a little bit more critical of it.
Yeah, it's interesting because it did deviate a lot from the book. It's almost like, what if we take that concept and just told a retelling of the story, but like going in like a similar direction, but like just changing everything up. Like none of the puzzles were the same.
Oh, really?
They were completely different, and even like near the end at Castle Anorak, that whole ending battle scene and the way they solve the problems there happens in a completely different way.
Yeah.
So, like it has its differences, but you know, I actually really liked the way they went with their own way and told their own story with it instead of just retelling a story I'd already heard before. So yeah, I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah. Nate?
I still haven't seen it yet. I didn't get to see it in theater. Well, no. Here's the thing. Neither me nor my wife wanted to see it in the theater because prior to its release, we could not get away from the same trailer over and over again.
Oh, yeah.
It looked cool, but after literally 15 times within a matter of a week, we kept seeing the same trailer over and over again. It's like, okay, I get it. Like it's kind of one of those like, let me just wait till that comes out. Let me give that some time to breathe.
Yeah.
It's definitely one that we'll pick up and watch eventually, but just speaking in general, I'm not the type of person who is really salty like about things. I mean, I can be, but when it comes to movies, I generally like more movies than people do. Yeah. Because I don't like I take them for what they are. Like I don't
Right.
go into a Fast and Furious movie or a Jurassic movie expecting it to be the end all be all of films. I'm walking in going, this is what it is, and I'm going to enjoy it as it is.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be upset or like, oh, they got that cameo wrong talking about Ready Player One. Like I don't have the time or the energy to be so pissed about everything. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I'll enjoy it, but it just whenever I get to see it, we'll see.
Yeah, I think when it comes to movies, me and you are pretty like our wavelengths are the same. It's when it gets to video games that it's like
As when it gets to E3 press conferences, we're completely different.
yeah. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed it, and it was one of those things where it's like, I've heard so many reviews about how it was a lot of sevens. So it's not a bad movie, but they're also just saying that it's a meh movie. And for me, it was like, it was a really, really good movie, and I do think people have a huge problem. Like actually one of my friends, was the same as you, Adam, where he read, same thing, he listened to it. He listened to the book several times. And so before the movie even came out, he was like, I'm not even going to go see it. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then he ended up seeing it anyways. And he's like, yeah, I didn't like it. I'm like, really? Like, and so, yeah, there's a lot of people out there that just like, in today's age, it's 2018. How long have we been adapting books? How long have we been adapting video games? We've been doing it for years. Name one that is so faithful, so, beat by beat. There are some, like I've heard the Harry Potters are pretty good. I've heard that, Lord of the Rings, is okay.
Lord of the Rings Extended Edition is pretty true because the movies by themselves are 3 hours. The extended editions add at least another 45 to an hour. So,
right.
The Lord of the Rings is the best example of that. Harry Potter to an extent, but
yes.
I know for a fact, because I was reading these whenever I was younger, I know for a fact that 4, and this may be part of the reason why people have a problem with 4 completely deviates. Like it maybe does the first part of the book, and then the second part of the book is just not even in the movie. Like they just skip over it.
Yeah. And so, I mean, point being is that we've been doing this for years, and they've usually never gotten an adaptation 100%. And I think the fact is that like a lot of people need to they need to go in every single time knowing that this is an adaptation. It is not a it's I guess what would be a better word than, like, if they wanted to do it beat by beat, what would be the word for that? Because adaptation by definition is you're adapting it. You're going to be putting your own spin on it. You are going to be retelling it to a certain extent, and so going into anything, especially after the trailers, a lot of people that read the books saw the trailer and it's like, oh, this is not going to be anything like it. So then why go to it? Like, if you really don't like it and you're not going to like it, then why go to it just to piss yourself off?
Because that's what the internet does.
I know. It's...
No, trust me. Trust me. I got into that same thing last night with people. Like we'll cover it more in a minute. But I got done with the PlayStation press conference, and although it was weird, I really enjoyed it. Like there was a lot of things I liked about it. Mm-hmm. The moment I go on Facebook, sorry, Kind of Funny group. The moment I go on Facebook in the Kind of Funny Facebook group, a lot of people were really high, and a lot of them were like, "Wow, f*** you, Sony, that fucking sucked." And I was like, dude, like, it's what, it's just like, it's just the internet hate is just so annoying. It's just like,
the hate is strong with them.
Do it.
They should have a sponsorship from Nike. Do it. Anyways, yeah, I don't like the hate. Yeah, when it comes to movies, I think me and you are right at the same time, because it's like, just enjoy the goddamn movie, okay? Like, it is not the end of the world. And I know I've said this before. I don't know if it was technically on this show, so I think I'm okay repeating it. But I think everybody expects every movie to be the best movie ever.
Which doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, exactly. Every movie can't be the best movie ever, because then no movie is the best movie ever. So why can't Ready Player One just be a good movie? You know, why does it have to say something philosophically? Why does it have to make me think? No, it's a really fun movie about video game characters. Seeing all these different video game characters, like in the theater, Serenity showed up. The spaceship, if you guys know.
Yep.
Serenity showed up, and I'm like, oh my god, Serenity! Like, way too freaking loud. Like, my wife actually, like, okay, this to remind you, I had my daughter with me, and the whole time we're basically trying to get her to calm down and like watch the movie or whatever. She was very bored, but
Like,
having my wife trying to calm me down is just it was pretty funny. I was just like, oh my god, like all the different references. It was just so fun, and especially like when Mechagodzilla comes, and you're just like, oh geez, because it's like as he was getting created, is like, I think I know who it is. I think I know it. Oh hell yeah.
Like, I appreciate the amount of work that had to go into that, because the amount of detail in every frame, like, I guarantee you could go back and look at that frame by frame and find something new that you did not notice every single time.
Yep.
Like, especially in that in the big war scene, where it's like, you could stop it and probably find 30 to 40 like Easter eggs in that just one in one scene. It's so great.
Yeah, and I think it is funny how a movie about video games is one of the best video game movies.
Yeah.
Because I mean, and I think the same thing was kind of excuse me. I think the same thing was kind of said about Jumanji: Into the Jungle when it first came out, is that they were using a lot of like video game tropes, but since it wasn't directly tied to a video game, people latched onto it a little bit better. And like, I'd have to say the same thing about Ready Player One. Like, the fact that it's not about a specific one means they can take liberties. So yeah, when the one guy, or I guess girl, sorry, when the one girl becomes the Iron Giant, like, I don't care about canon. I don't care about, oh, that wouldn't happen. I just see Iron Giant and I'm like, well, heck yeah.
That was actually, that scene is one of the things I hear a lot of people complaining about. It's like the theming of that, where H becomes the Iron Giant. We're like, well, the Iron Giant wasn't supposed to be a weapon, and they're using it as a weapon. Isn't that going against everything the Iron Giant stood for? I'm just like, okay, come on, guys.
It's just like, just sit down. Sit down.
Yeah.
It's like, this is where it's time to just, like you said, sit down and enjoy the movie for, it's just trying to be a fun, like, romp through nostalgia. Like,
yeah.
I think you're taking it a little bit too, like, looking a little too closely at it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So, all right, let's get to the big topic of the day, the big weekly grind of the week, and that was obviously E3. So first off, let's do some honorable mentions, what we thought about E3 in general, and then we're going to get into our top 3. So in general, how'd you feel about it, FatalOtaku?
This has been an interesting year, I gotta say. I feel like it's been a bit slower than the previous years. I was really looking forward to the Microsoft conference, because I felt like they had a lot to like really like show this year if they wanted to try to make up ground, and I thought they did a pretty good job. EA and Square kind of didn't have as much fun with those ones, but Square was the one I think personally had the most games that spoke to me or should have spoken to me. but I kind of just, like, I woke up early for that one and was like, wow, I didn't get everything I wanted out of that. I kind of left that one disappointed, but Sony and Microsoft and Bethesda did a pretty good job. I enjoyed all three of those ones.
Yeah. And Nate?
I'm kind of with you. This has been a very interesting E3 in the sense of I think most of us expected certain things to happen, and those things that we expected to happen didn't happen for the most part.
Splinter Cell.
Yep.
Splinter Cell, but also Rocksteady. Rocksteady
Oh, that's a good
was
point. Yeah.
primed to have their game either announced at Xbox or announced at Sony, and neither of them happened.
Those are
And
going
so-
to Nintendo. That's it.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
So I still think that Splinter Cell and the Rocksteady game will be announced this year. I just think they'll be announced outside of E3, which is very interesting, but it would make sense because those games really don't need an E3 showing. Those games can be announced by themselves and people will still buy them. So maybe that's
true.
where they're going. But I enjoyed the only conference that I haven't had a chance to watch yet was Bethesda's.
Mhm.
And that's just because I didn't make time for it, so that's on me. But I thought that Xbox had a really great showing this year with what they showed. They really were firing on all cylinders. I mean, you're going to tell me that they first off announced 3 Gears games, although one was only like a proper Gears game. They started the show with a new Halo game. Which begged all kinds of questions from the trailer alone. And then they teased, hey, we are working on the next Xbox. It all in one conference. And
when did they tease that?
at the very end, he was like, he was talking about the cloud streaming thing, cloud streaming of games. And he was like, but, we are also we do have our developers working on the next version of Xbox. And it was just like kind of a shadow that they put up on the screen. But that and them announcing that they actually bought and are sinking money into these studios to have games going forward. Whether they were already Xbox games, it shows that they're trying to financially support the people that are making games for them so they can make more, Overall, I think it's been a really good E3. From now on, though, anytime E3 comes around, I'm staying off the internet. I'm staying off Facebook because I've been coming out of these conferences on a real high. Like, oh, I really enjoyed this. And to come from that and then get on Facebook and see your mom's a whore. See, like, people who just, like, want to down my throat. I'm like, well, I really don't need that, It's one of those things that I grew up watching E3 like everybody else did. Right. But we all watched E3 through a vacuum. It was our experience. I can remember being home from school when game trailers and G4 was still around. I would leave those on the TV G4 all week, and that's how I would watch E3, and it was an experience, and I loved it. Definitely. So to go from that and now have an immediate reaction of someone being like, that fucking sucked. I was like, man, like it's stuff like that just like puts me down. So I went a little dark on the end with that. I'm sorry, but it's just it really bothered me after Sony's press conference last night how many people were just like, yeah. And it's like someone pointed out, it's like, dude, they showed what they said they were going to show.
True. And
might I add, and I want to talk to you about this, Nick, because I know you weren't happy through a lot of the conferences. Sony's conference was really the only one that showed us deep dive gameplays for every single one of their games that they talked about. I mean, I wasn't expecting to get a Last of Us gameplay, which looked incredible.
Oh god, yes.
Oh yeah.
And then they showed gameplay for Death Stranding and Ghost of Tsushima. Death Stranding.
Gameplay for Death Stranding?
That was gameplay.
We're going to talk about this a little later, but I do believe there's a lot more gameplay in there than we realize.
Yes, there was a lot of walking.
If you guys follow Boss Logic on Instagram, the graphic designer, he you should follow him because he does really good work. But he posted a picture of Norman Reedus, the screenshot of Norman Reedus's character with the arm thing on his back, and had FedEx labels all over him. But overall, I really enjoyed this E3. I'm interested to see what Nintendo's showing is going to be. That's going to happen a little bit later today.
Right.
So yeah. I'm excited for the games they showed, and I'm excited for the things they didn't show that I wish they would show to see if they come around.
Yeah. My main question to you would be, is the reason you went dark because of the reaction to PlayStation or in general?
Well, the PlayStation one was the freshest one. Like, I watched it late last night. Like, I finished about 11:30. And as they were doing like the
grumpy,
as they were doing like the excuse me, the post show stuff when they were talking to Media Molecule and all that stuff, I was just checking my Facebook, and I know the pacing of the conference was weird,
definitely,
but I personally thought it was cool that they started off in a weird church that was a set from The Last of Us, and then had the composer Gustavo from The Last of Us playing, because I love his music. I loved his music throughout the first Last of Us. So it was just it was like, the way I took it was, Xbox has this press conference of, let's show you all these games and all this money we have to throw at them, and it was a showcase. And PlayStation was like, hey, we're going to show you stuff a little more intimately. We're going to give you a deep dive to what we have, and that's what we got. And it was to me, it was Sony not having to compete with Xbox. It was them doing their own thing, and that's why I really loved it. Like, it was super unique, and nobody talked except for Sean Layden at the beginning, and then the transition. But the main conference, nobody said anything.
Right. And I think it was the pacing that a lot of people had a problem with. And so I probably will go a little bit dark, but only on Microsoft, because I am a PlayStation guy. I can't deny that. But I can't throw shade at all the other people for being self-indulgent without also pointing out the fact that building a set specifically just for one game premiere, which we've already seen, is a little self-indulgent, and it was definitely a different experience. But I think, although I liked the Gustavo coming out and playing it, I guess what soured my grapes about that was that I already had to sit through Bethesda, and Bethesda had an entire song, which was like a rock song. It was like, and you know what I mean? And so having to sit through that before finally getting to Rage 2, and it was an okay showing. Like, okay, yeah, that's Rage 2. It looks like exactly like Rage 1 with a couple of new abilities, F and do. And so then also Ubisoft, obviously, they opened up with a giant song or whatever. I didn't mind it as much because you kind of expect that from them. You expect that cringy Just Dance presentation. So I kind of expected it from them. And then, just for them to make an entire set just for The Last of Us, it does show their passion. And I have to commend them for that, because it was cool when the opening shot was of that church they were sitting in. I'm like, oh, that's why they did it. But until
I was like, why were they in a church? It was so
until
weird.
that point, I was just like, why are they in a church? Why are they doing this? Like, even like you could hear background noise off of Sean Layden's microphone. So I'm like, wow, they just did not plan this very well. Then the trailer started, and I'm like, oh, gotcha. Okay. But then the pause was probably the weirdest thing, because then they actually went into the show floor. So it's like, you literally did that for just that. And it's like, I get it on the one hand, but on the other hand, like I said, I would be a hypocrite if I didn't point out the self-indulgence of it and the absolute just stroking that they were doing there. You know, it is well-deserved stroking, mind you, but it's still stroking, you know, because I'm definitely one of the people who's very boisterous about Microsoft was flexing. and they were just showing you how big their cock was and how hard it was. And, I'm 40 and I have this big of,
Now,
look at me. Look at me.
they did need to do a lot. So that's why I liked it, is because I appreciated that they needed to show that. And they didn't show us substance, but they showed us a lot. And like, I used to be an Xbox gamer. Like I had a 360 for a long time, and I had an Xbox One as well. I had an Xbox One for a while. But I ended up having to sell my Xbox to go on a trip a few years ago, and I used my PlayStation more. So the conference, although it didn't make me want to buy a One X, it did kind of potentially have me interested. It had me more of like, I could buy another Xbox, but I wasn't all the way there yet. So,
and see, I guess that's my biggest problem, is that this E3 is the time that everybody's paying attention to. And so what Microsoft tried to do is they tried to show like, oh, look how many games we have. When it's like, is it really your game? It's like you have 17 exclusives or something. Or what was it? I don't know the number.
18.
But like, how many of those were quite literally only available on the Xbox One? And that's part of the problem that they created for themselves, because of the Play Anywhere, and you can play on the PC. So it's like, it's a problem they created for themselves. Whereas The Last of Us, you literally can only play that on the PlayStation 4. Spider-Man, only on the PlayStation. Ghost of Tsushima, Death Stranding. What was the weird Remedy one? Which the Remedy one really took me by surprise. Control. The Remedy thing really surprised me, because like Remedy obviously did Quantic Dream or whatever it was for Xbox. So to see them be like, all right, bye guys, we're gonna go over here now, was kind of cool. I see Xbox's approach. And I see that they're like, look at us, we have 50 games. But I did the math, because yes, I'm that petty. I did the math, and there was 100 minutes, and a good 10 minutes of that was like The Division. And so the rest of that, which is 90, divided by 49, meant that we only get a minute and 1.836734 times. Point being is that we didn't get that much out of each one. And that's not including all the talking, because Microsoft still had the same problem that every single conference had except for Sony, which was talking. So much talking. And the fact that in the middle was the most self-indulgent, cock showing that I've seen. Just like, hey, these are all the studios we bought. And what I have to point out is the fact that, and you mentioned it before, is the fact that they were already making games for Xbox. And so I guess what I would have preferred is the games. I don't care who you're buying. And, I understand that this also is for investors and stuff like that. But this very well could have been an investor phone call. It very well could have been something, and they released those to the public as well. So why did they have to do it on the main stage? I feel like it was just a big waste of time to say, hey, Playground Studios, the ones that make Forza for us and only us? Yeah, they're still going to make it just for us. And Undead Labs, the people who've only made games for us and only us, yeah, they're going to continue to do that. Like, it was just like, for me, it was out of place. I understand, especially if you're like a big Xbox fan, I can understand the importance of that. But on an E3 stage, I just don't get the point of it. Especially since you had so many games to get through. And really, all the games that we saw, there was a couple with some gameplay in them, but it was really just, here's a bunch of flashes, here's a bunch of stuff going on. There wasn't a lot of substance. And so PlayStation, as usual, had a lot less to show as far as quantity, but the quality was way up there. If we skipped the entire intermission where they had to change from the church into the big stadium, if we took that part out of our memory and we only watched it after the fact, so we were able to skip past it or something, it was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. The gut-wrenching emotion in the starting, the pulse pounding punches that you have from Spider-Man, the what the F is this from Control, the moment that had me, literally yelling out loud, which I'll say that later. I'll save that for later. Like, it was just one after another, and it was the deep dives that I really like. Ghost of Tsushima, I still don't know how the open world aspect is going to work, but my freaking God, the grass, the leaves, the way they moved, oh my God, it's so good. It looks so freaking good. And I wish I was having a bad connection. So really I would think I was only in 720p, and even then it was super blurry, but just I could still see like the grass and the way it moved, and oh my God, so good.
Now see, Ghost of Tsushima, oh God, that's such a hard word to say. Ghost of Tsushima is the only one at Sony's that I thought was okay, personally.
Yeah.
It looked really good, but if I had to pick between the other samurai Japanese style games that I saw, I think Shadows Die Twice probably I would put that over Ghosts. Now, I'm not gonna commit to that because I love Sucker Punch and I love everything they've done. So we'll just see how it goes. But from that showing in particular, I wasn't quite sure what I was watching. The combat looked super cool, but it also looked really basic, really, really basic.
Yeah.
In comparison to what we've had before. And then later on when they showed the Spider-Man gameplay, and it was, Arkham gameplay, which is totally fine. That's great combat. But I don't know. Ghost of Tsushima was the only one that I was just about, But I guess have we done honorable mentions yet?
I guess not. So you can talk about Halo Infinite.
So surprise of the show, kind of. I expected Xbox to talk about Halo because they needed to make some sort of announcement. I didn't expect them to start the show with it. Yeah. So the biggest thing to take away with this is that
they don't have anything.
Well, the reason being is because it's a completely new engine.
Yeah.
They've scrapped the engine that they had with Halo 5 and Halo games prior, and this is a completely new engine.
Right.
From the trailer, it looks like some people thought they may be doing a reimagining of the original in the new engine, because of the fact they're on a Halo, the world that they've shown, and Master Chief's helmet and his armor looks slimmer, like his CE version. I don't think that's the case.
Yeah.
And some people were like, oh, well, how are they on a Halo ring? Is it a prequel? Well, Halo 5 ended with Cortana making a new Halo.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a continuation. But the other interesting is they've dropped the numbers. It's just Halo Infinite.
Yeah, I'm wondering, does Infinite have to do with the game itself, or is it just some cheeky reference to the storyline? Is it called Infinite because you're going to be able to play it for an infinite amount of time? Maybe there's some kind of replayability in it. Is there gonna be some random dungeons that you can go through it 1,000 infinite millions of times and not get the same experience? Is that why it's called Infinite, or is it Infinite because BioShock Infinite had a very distinct story reason for being called that?
Well, another thing from the trailer is this looks like this Halo could be an open world game.
Kinda. I mean,
I mean,
otherwise, why are they showing me all this BS?
Yeah. I mean, it's from the way the camera was panned on that Warthog, which by the way, that Warthog driving did not look really good at all. It really didn't.
You're right there for sure. It looked sketchy, and I guess the art didn't look as good as previous Halos, like Halo 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But the way the camera was positioned to show that, it kind of gives you a feeling of this could be a more open experience, and it could be like a more open world game, which if they built a new engine is totally possible, because the Halo engine that they had was fantastic as it is. And even though I didn't really care for Halo 5, the set pieces on it were really good and really large. I mean, they were, it was, so
maybe not open world, but like faux open world, where
maybe like God of War.
They just have really big areas that is meant for exploring. So yeah, exactly like God of War. Yeah. It's exactly where I was going. You beat me to it.
I hadn't even considered that, actually. I actually really like that idea.
Well, yeah, I think anybody and everybody who's making a game looks at the way God of War made their game, and if they're not trying to rethink the way they're doing stuff, I think it's a big misstep, because God of War was extremely linear if you think about it. But having a giant hub and being able to explore the world and make it feel alive was the best thing that they could have done, and it was the best way to go back to God of War. So, all right, let's get to our top 3. So we're going to go one at a time, start with your least favorite all the way up to your favorite of E3. We'll start with Adam.
I'm going to have to start with the Death Stranding trailer that we got. And primarily because of like the first like 30, maybe like 40 seconds to a minute of it, there was a really interesting line that they talked about, and I'm just going to quote it here. Sam, the Norman Reedus' character, is talking to a woman. So, at some point, she's not actually there, but he's like talking through a headset or something, and she says, "Tears, a chiral allergy, so you have dooms like me. What's your level? I've got the extinction factor, but I think you got me beat." And so my thought there is they might not have been talking character to character. This might have been a player to player moment. And that her ability to, because she says, "You can see them, right?" And he says, "No, but I can sense them." There might be some aspect of, as you level up through the game, or as you level up however you level up, because who knows how it's going to work. You might be able to have different abilities, like being able to actually see the enemies, or maybe you're just able to get some kind of sense of where they're at. Because it's, to me, when she says, "What's your level?" that's not something you would necessarily... I can't see how that works in like a character to character moment, but if it was like the Division things where it's two people talking as they're playing, it would make a lot more sense. Plus, if you go later on in that trailer, he's talking to a couple other people that sound like there's some kind of like intelligence group that's trying to help him get to wherever he's going. That could also be other players, because we know Kojima has stated that this game has a lot of player interaction.
Right.
And so this could have all been set up to look like a character-to-character moment while it's actually being played out like a gameplay trailer that we don't even realize is a gameplay trailer.
Yeah, and there's even like there was a couple of spots where it would show Norman Reedus walking, and then it would show a completely different character walking. Yep. So you wonder if that's like your character. You get to create your own character and stuff like that. It was definitely pretty, but like I kind of touched on this before. The only thing I didn't like is like, is it really gameplay? Because all they did was show walking, and it's like, it's when we first saw the trailer for Fallout, it was just like there were certain shots of the guy walking through the through the different environments or whatever, but that was it. Like, he was just walking. And so only later in Bethesda's conference did we actually get to see gameplay. We got to see 4 players on the screen at once. And I was like, well, hell yeah, that's what I want to see.
Yeah.
Walking around, especially how mysterious the game still is. It's like, just because I get to see walking doesn't make me understand the game any more than I already do.
Yeah, and that's still why it's only number 3 on my list. Is I like that little connection that I may or may not be seeing there, but it intrigued my my thoughts. But it really couldn't put it any higher because, like you said, we haven't seen, unless we did see, and that's all the game is, which is walking. In which case, I'd be very disappointed. We really haven't seen gameplay.
Yeah. All right, Nate. What's your number 3?
Oh, that's hard because all of the ones I have are... I guess it's the Division... No, it's Dying Light 2. Dying Light 2 is my number 3.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the first one, but this one I like how much more of the focus is on human-to-human interactions.
Yeah,
and
consequences.
Consequences are a big deal with this game, and that's really fascinating.
Yeah, I'll have to say it's my number 3 too, so we can go on a little extra long for this one.
Well, so I cheated a little bit on my top 3. I have in the same space Anthem and Dying Light 2, so I guess I can make Anthem my number 3 as well. And I'll just speak quickly about Anthem. Anthem looks awesome. It looks like a little bit like Destiny. But without the Bungie tropes, hopefully.
Yeah,
hopefully.
But I like how much they showed. The game looks really cool, and I like the introduction of the javelins. Like like how you get to pick a specialist, but that's also your character, And I'm not sure how much team focused gaming I'm going to do with it when it comes out. But I like how they give you that option as well. It's like you can, with any of the other like hero shooters, you can squad up and have different javelins in your crew, and they can work effectively like that. So I think that's cool. But Dying Light 2, I like how much more fantasy it is. Like they call it the modern dark times,
right?
At the conference, and it just looks really cool. I did like the first one, but I didn't like the setting, and I didn't like how dark it was.
It's called Dying Light, you jackass.
No. Like I didn't like how everything was so brown. Like, gotcha. It wasn't really interesting to look at. So this one being less of a zombie game and more of a consequence interaction RPG, that kind of fascinates me a lot more.
Yeah, and I do like how they showed off, like, if you save this water treatment plant, then you'll see the city start to have more plants and stuff because people are able to grow plants and stuff. But if you don't, here's how it would look afterwards. And they specifically made sure to say, this is one decision out of hundreds. And I'm like, holy crap. If the difference is, like, pardon the pun, but if the difference is night and day for the changes, how many changes are there going to be to the physical world? Because, like, for instance, way back in the day, we're talking Infamous. If you were good to everybody, the city would start looking a little cleaner, and people would be like, stopping to take your picture. And if you were evil, the city would start looking a little bit more dirty, and people would like throw rocks at you. So there was a little bit there, but still, like, it wasn't so drastic, at least unless you looked at it side by side. Whereas like this, I could look at my world and then maybe go join you in your world, and all of a sudden I'm like, whoa, what the hell did you do?
Yeah.
So like that kind of consequence based thing is, oh man, the one thing that I am so freaking mad about is I was on my way home from working because I have a job, and right as I just went to the grocery store. This is Sunday, I just got done at the grocery store, getting ready to get in my car and go home, make some dinner, and then watch the rest of the Microsoft conference. And right at the time when I'm getting in my car, Adrian Walker tweets out, "Dying Light just invented consequences." And I'm like, no, no, like Dying Light for sure would have been the one game I would have loved for that to have been a surprise. I'm so mad because then as soon as it came on screen, it's like I knew what it was, and I'm like, I hate this feeling. I should have been sitting there. What is this? What is? Oh, okay. Is it zombies? What? Is it Dying Light? Oh my God! But I didn't get that experience because I had it freaking spoiled for me. But another thing I really liked just from the trailer, just from the little bit of like gameplay clips that you get. From the looks of it, everything is a lot more makeshift. Like in the first one, you could have like an axe, you can have a sword and stuff like this. Whereas in this one, your axe is made out of like a street sign.
Yeah.
So like I really liked the look of it and the look of the weapons and everything. I absolutely love the first one. I played the absolute crowd. We're talking hundreds of hours into it, different profiles, different characters. It was absolutely awesome. And so I'm super excited for that. To touch on Anthem really fast, if I look at it as a game by itself, not including EA, I think it does look good. The only problem I think I have and a lot of other people have is the fact that we didn't technically get that much more information than we already had. Because we got some gameplay and sure, now we know they're called javelins, but I felt like I already knew that. So
you did.
What?
You did, but they showed off the different ones you had.
Yeah, they named them just like they named the Jedi, whatever the heck.
Order,
yeah, whatever. So they named them, and I, in a different universe, I would love to love that game. I would love to be excited for that game. But in the world we live in right now, even if you take Battlefront 2 out of the equation, EA has done too much for me to forgive them and for me to give a crap, because I see Anthem and I see Destiny 3.0, because now it's not money grubby Activision that we're having to worry about. It's money grubby EA, which Activision is the lesser of two evils.
Yeah.
So, and that's all I'll say about Anthem. Number 2, Mr. Adam.
Well, this one's going to be pretty short because there's not a lot to say on it, but Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition. So for me, this is a game that I loved on the Xbox 360. I played through this game, I can't even tell you how many times, and as a big anime and JRPG fan, this game just scratches that itch perfectly. And being able to relive it on the PS4, I'm super excited for it. Even though it was shown at the Microsoft conference, I'm pretty sure this is coming to both systems. This is one of their world premieres, not their exclusives. Premiere. So, but regardless, I actually, now that I think about it, I know it's coming to Switch. I might actually pick it up on that instead so I can bring it with me on the go. But
that's dope as shit.
Yes, I am so ready to play some more Tales. I love the Tales series, so that's my number 2. Not much else to say besides that.
Yeah, see, that was another thing, like world premiere. He literally just got done saying that everything from this point on is a world premiere. But they still felt the need to say world premiere before every trailer.
Yeah.
What I liked about PlayStation, I know this is making me a PlayStation fanboy, but what I liked about PlayStation is they just freaking got to it. They didn't stroke their dick. They just got to the goddamn game. And it's like world premiere, world exclusive, world. It's like, hey, you just told us that it's a world premiere, so don't tell me. It was so annoying, and that's kind of what I mean by the dick stroking, is the fact that it's like world premiere. It was too much, It's like, I get it, but at the same time, really, all you're telling people is, look how much money we have, because it's like we have enough money to get a trailer. That's really all it was. It's like, hey, Kingdom Hearts, can we give you like $1 million to let us put your trailer on first before your conference?
that
trailer
was... Go on.
I said that initial trailer, the one that they showed at Xbox of the Kingdom Hearts, that was not a good trailer. Simply because technically,
it was technically bad.
Also, for me, I could give two shits about Frozen. I really don't care about Frozen. So
hey, just let it go. Okay, let it go.
That world didn't do anything for me. The world they showed off at PlayStation, though, the
Pirates? Yeah.
Pirates world looked good.
Arg.
Looked really good.
We'll have time to talk about Kingdom Hearts 3 later.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah,
spoilers.
A little bit.
All right, number 2, Nate.
Number 2 would be Division 2. Which is interesting to me because as much as I like The Division, like, it's not one of my favorite games. Like, because it's not the main type of game I play, but The Division 2 just looks so good. Everything about it looks really, really good. I like the setting. I like the direction they're going with it. And just looking at the gameplay makes me excited to see more and to see the full game.
Definitely. Like you said, the setting, I think setting it in DC, at least what they showed us, obviously that's all we have to go off of right now, but at least what they showed us, it is more open areas. And that's kind of in our predictions. If you remember, I talked about how, or I guess it would have been Ubi Chat predictions. So go check that out. Ubi Chat, at Ubi Chat on Twitter. But during our predictions, I talked about how that's one thing I really wanted. I wanted open areas, because as much as I love The Division, and like I said, in the early part of Weekly Grind, I'm getting back into it and I'm having a lot of fun with it. But one thing is, it's just tall buildings. Like, there's not much of a skybox because you can't really see it. There's buildings in the way. So having it go from that to a giant open world is super exciting.
Agreed. That was good. I don't really have much to add on to that.
Yeah. And I mean, it also, I think one thing you pointed out after we watched is it's very bright.
Yeah, it's a lot more bright than The Division 1.
Yeah, I mean, because it's concrete and it's skyscrapers, everything's very gray. So kind of like what you were saying about Dying Light, you could say the same thing about Division 2, and the fact that it's much brighter. The color palette is not just gray and black and couple of browns. Now we got grass, we got foliage, which that was the one thing. It was a little weird. Me and you were like debating over like, how long has it been after the first game, because like for me it looks like I Am Legend, where it's like 3 years after the event or something, but like the post show, what did they say it was?
They either said that the game takes place 7 months after the disease or something, but they said 7 months. And that kind of makes sense potentially, because if you look at the Division 1, it was only a couple months after the initial disease, and everything was already kind of set that way. You had the cleaners, and you had like these groups that had, in that short amount of time, had manifested into the gangs that they were in. Yeah. So it would make sense that if it was 7 months after, like maybe after the disease, Washington DC just fell hard, and then in the matter of seven months, we see what happened there. So that could make sense, because Division 1 was a pretty fast turnaround in the world. Yeah. I don't know. I guess it's just the foliage that really throws me off. It's like, it seems like way too much of it for only 7 months.
So, I mean, maybe it's 7 months after the first division, which would make it a full year. I think that'd be a little bit more believable, but I'm not sure. One thing I wish they would have done, because we talked about this on Ubi Chat, I wish they would have gone more into detail during Ubisoft, but instead they did the gameplay at Microsoft. And one thing I definitely wish that we would have been able to see is like the different factions, because they talk about like you end the game and you're able to make 3 choices. So I wish they would have gone into like, okay, what's Washington DC's version of the Cleaners or the Rikers? What's their version of it? What factions are we going to do? Are we going to be able to like double cross them or do missions for them and then piss off the other factions? Like, that's kind of one thing I'm hoping for, and I wish they would have gone a little bit more into detail.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think they'll show more.
Obviously.
We'll probably... Oh, you know what I just got to thinking about? What if the next press conference is either Paris Games Week or Gamescom?
Mm-hmm.
So what if we get an announcement from like Splinter Cell or Rocksteady at those, or what if they show more about Division 2 there?
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Very
that's
well
something I just
could.
thought about.
I mean, they could do like a diary system where they trickle out a little information here and there, and I think plenty of people would want to watch it. I mean, because you got tons of people who are really interested in it. As far as like the Division, obviously still has a pretty good fan base. So, all right, so let's get my number 2 is Fallout 76. As far as like actual gameplay, it wasn't a lot. I mean, obviously they did kind of. Todd came out and he talked forever. It's like, I don't care about blades. It's like, okay, it looks like a cool phone app, but yay. Although it did look pretty badass, I'll admit. But anyways, Fallout 76. I think obviously the standout is the fact that it's going to be multiplayer, and the fact that I don't know if they actually use the word shared world, but they definitely implied it heavily. So I think we're going to have a sort of situation like Destiny, but I think the reason that they tried to stick away from calling it a shared world is because they didn't want to be compared to Destiny, in the sense that, they didn't want people to think that, they aren't going to have the story elements that you expect from Fallout. You're not going to have like the world building that you get from a Fallout. Like, they're worried if they say that they're a shared world, they're afraid people might think, oh well, they've lost their way, and I don't think that's the case at all. But yeah, I feel like being able to go out and Fallout with a buddy is super super cool. I like it. Like, I like the idea of squatting up in Fallout, especially if they have like a survival mode and like we're having to really like help each other out and stuff. Like, I think that could be really cool.
I like the setting. I like that it's a prequel. I like that it's post the bomb. And I like the idea. I like the idea of having...
Do you like big butts?
And I cannot lie.
Good.
The shared world. I mean, they're not saying it, but you're right. It is a shared world. World. So it's cool to play Fallout in that way. My only worry is I hope they don't focus too much on the base building.
Yeah.
Because they've talked about that they want to focus on that, and I did not like that in 4 at all.
Yeah, so I'm hoping this time around it's a little bit more intuitive. One thing they did mention is that now you can build anywhere rather than in
designated
specific
areas.
Places. Yeah, so the designated, cities that they already had, and then you had to build around it. Now you can build wherever you want. And so that's part of the reason why I was like, maybe this is a shared world, because maybe I can set up my base, get it super defensed, and then somebody can like invade my world, Dark Souls style, and try to take it over or try to loot it or something.
Did you guys check out the Bethesda conference?
I watched it.
I didn't. That was the only one I didn't get to see.
Okay. So you mind me talking about what they talked about in there at all? Or do you want to see it for yourself then? Because there was that cool little scene where they had a base built, and they got to show kind of like that PvP combat.
Yep.
That looked really cool. Like,
yeah. So yeah, that's what I mean by like Dark Souls. Like,
yeah.
Like you could like, I don't know, maybe if you go up to like a board and maybe there's like a bounty or something, like, and so you take a bounty to take down this person's settlement, and so then you load into somebody else's world, go try to take over their settlement, and maybe at the same time that person gets a notice, hey, these people are trying to take over your thing, and so you have to get back to your, get back to your place and, make sure it doesn't get taken over.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think that'd be super cool.
That sounds like a fun game to play with, like a couple of buddies.
Definitely. All right, so you're number one.
Okay, well, my number one, regardless of how bad some of the trailers might have looked, the Kingdom Hearts 3, just everything that has come out about it so far over this conference. We've had it at 3 different conferences.
That's true.
And each one gave us just a little bit more. So we had the reveal of the Frozen World. Whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't.
Hey,
not important to me, but
right.
I'm sure there are people out there that like it. There was a little Ratatouille in the Sony conference, which I don't know if that's gonna be a full world or it's just gonna be like a mini game, little hub world.
Right.
The ending to those two, the Microsoft and Square trailer, was, for anyone who's following the story, of the people who actually can follow the Kingdom Hearts story.
I had to giggle there because it's like, story.
Yeah, the Aqua's eyes are a big implication of something that's going on in the plot that just completely redefines what we thought we know. And then, most of all, the PS4 Pro Limited Edition Kingdom Hearts 3 console.
Yeah, that was pretty nice. Yeah, that was pretty nice.
I do like how you're going to be able to get them all on one big bundle. Yes. I'm assuming it's going to be close to like $100, but still, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it has Kingdom Hearts 3, Kingdom Hearts 1.5 and 2.5, and Kingdom Hearts 2.8. So you get the whole Kingdom Hearts enchilada, the whole thing.
Yeah. Now, whenever that trailer ended at Microsoft, I haven't followed like the DS games and like the Birth by Sleep and all that stuff. Like my experience with Kingdom Hearts is 1 and 2.
Okay.
I just over the course of time hadn't either had the devices that those came out on or hadn't made the time to catch up on all those. But when that trailer ended, I was like, pretty sure I remember that, and I'm pretty sure that's a big deal. Like I was like, that looks like it's a big deal.
Yeah, the yellow eyes are a big implication for Kingdom Hearts fans. So if you're following the story, then you probably already know what that entails, so I won't say any more than that. But that was, for me, that was my I need to calm down moment because I'm yelling too loud right now.
Nice.
But yeah, we're finally getting a PS4 Pro limited edition, so I can finally upgrade from my launch day system. I can get a nice new Pro that I can put on my TV. I'm so excited for that.
Nice. Alrighty, Nate, number 2. Number 1, sorry.
Number 1 is easily going to be The Last of Us 2.
Nothing but sequels for you.
2.
I know, it is nothing
That's
but
okay, nothing but sequels for me too, I guess.
Yeah. The Last of Us 2, everything they showed, I was speechless the entire time.
Yep.
That that was a cinematic, but that was a gameplay cinematic. Like you can tell the difference because it looked very reminiscent of the art style from the cutscenes, it was a cutscene, not a cinematic. The cutscene looked gorgeous. I mean, you can see every detail in the facial features. Like you could see the actress. I think it's Ashley something. I don't remember her last name, who plays Ellie. But I saw the little twitches in her eyes and the facial features. It was and it was very powerful, like the scene itself. And then you saw gameplay, and the gameplay, it looks so good. It's so smooth. The textures and the graphics and everything just look absolutely incredible. And I like how it looked like that was probably actual gameplay. Like it had
Right.
menus like you had in Last of Us 1. And from that trailer, from that showing, I think at the earliest we'll see this in 2019. At the very, very latest, it's going to be 2020. Like I could see a very early 2020 date, but that game looks like it's pretty far along.
Yeah, I mean this seems like a holiday game. I don't know why they could put this out. I mean, they could technically put this out in freaking July of next year and it would still go gangbusters. But I really feel like they're definitely confident in this enough to put it out during the holiday, and they don't have to worry about Call of Duty or the next Battlefront or whatever anybody else, you know, they'll be the Red Dead Redemption of 2019.
Speaking of Red Dead, did we see anything from them at all yet?
Nope.
Wow.
Yep. I mean, Red Dead is the freaking reason that February 22nd is just everybody's dump. Everybody's just dumping in there. Like
everyone's running for the hills.
Yeah, and I get it. Let me tell you, but I'm also just it's another kind of EA situation where like I don't personally like how Rockstar did GTA Online and the stuff that they did with microtransactions and it's like, oh well, you can get it in-game stuff, but it takes a long time when you have a single vehicle that is the equivalent of $100 in real world money. And once again, you can get it in game. I understand that, you know, nobody like get mad at me in the comments or whatever. But when you create something that is the equivalent of $100, like it just seems like, I don't know, it just seems bad because like maybe I don't quite have enough, so I will spend $20 to get it because that's how much I need to finally be able to get it. But it's a single vehicle, you know. And Rockstar, because they have such a pedigree, I feel like Rockstar is the one people getting away with the same stuff that Destiny was doing, but they're getting away with it because they're Rockstar. And so I have this personal vendetta against Red Dead because it's like I don't want to spend $1 million on a horse. So Red Dead for me, I'm waiting and seeing because obviously it's going to be good, but I'm looking at the long game. You know, I'll probably rent it for the story, but then I don't think I'm going to buy it because I want to know what are they going to do with the online? How are they going to monetize it? Because obviously there's that Take-Two phone call that leaked or whatever. I don't know if it was technically leaked, but anyways, they straight up admitted that from now on their games are going to have reoccurring revenue. So they're going to have monetization and they're going to make it a part of the game. And I'm like, no, that's not cool. Anyways, I don't want to talk about that anymore. Last of Us 2. I mean, I'm trying to think of what I can say that you didn't already say, and there's not that much to say other than, yeah, it was just really gorgeous, and I really like the story beats. The one thing I do have to point out is that since the first game, they opted to not go with the character model of the actual actress. She does stand out a little bit, in my opinion, because the first guy you talk to is an Asian guy, and it looks like exactly like who the actor is. And then the same thing with the girl looks exactly like her actress. And obviously I'm not saying it's bad because it's absolutely gorgeous, but it just seems a little off, you know, whether it be her cheeks or just the way her eyes look. It just looks a little off because it is artificial in the sense that they created it versus, you know, the Asian guy and the woman, they like straight up scan their faces. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. But Ashley Johnson is her name.
Yeah.
Because Ellie's older in this game, Ashley Johnson does actually look more like like Ellie does actually look more like the actress that she did in the first game.
Yes, definitely. I mean, they definitely made some changes to make her
like it's almost identical. Like
it's,
okay, good.
They well, I mean, here's the thing. They made enough changes to make her look more like the actress, but they couldn't make too many changes because then she wouldn't look like Ellie. So, and I think I know what Ashley looks like. And so I guess that's what's throwing me off. So maybe if you don't know who Ashley is and you've never seen her before in your entire life, then it's probably okay and it's not going to affect you. But since I know what she looks like and, you know, I do see what they're going for, but because they made the character model look a different way, you know, I'm going to say the same thing about Joel. You know, if he's in the game.
Oh, yeah.
Boom.
Yeah, I can agree with
Joel, I'm thinking Joel might be the same thing. He's just going to... If you put Joel next to a character who clearly had their face scanned into it, he is going to look just a little off. We're talking like 0.00001. You know, it's very subtle, but it's just enough where I'm like, yeah, you can tell that that's not an actual scan of a face. And, you know, that's just me being nitpicky, you know, so don't get mad at me. I'm not saying it in a bad way. I'm just pointing it out. And the gameplay, like I loved a lot of the little subtle things, like when she's under the truck and she shoots the person in the head, the bullet hole on that looked amazing.
Yep.
Just, oh my God, so freaking amazing. It looks so realistic. And then like her pulling an arrow out of a body was awesome. The way that first stab wound that they showed, like when it like did that cool camera trick where it went behind her head and all of a sudden we're in a different scene. That first stab wound that she had in the guy's neck, oh my God. Like it was like almost too realistic.
Yeah, it was pretty brutal.
It was pretty goddamn brutal, you know. And I mean, they've already said the theme of it is hate. So there's definitely some people online. Who is she revenging? Revenging? Is that a word?
You can make it a word.
Can we have a Google?
Revengeance is a word, so.
Revengeance?
I mean,
Revengeance.
Metal Gear Solid Revengeance or whatever. They had to do that. You could say whatever it was.
So, revenging. Who is she revenging against? Is it Joel? Did somebody kill Joel, or did somebody kill her girlfriend?
I was thinking after that trailer that was someone killed her girlfriend.
Definitely.
I was thinking so too.
Definitely.
But I have to say about this trailer, I was at the PlayStation Experience in my hometown at a theater watching the entire conference, and The Last of Us 2 had everybody just going off at every little moment. Just the oohing and awing was...
Yeah.
It was something that no other game got. It was amazing. Like, that trailer was... as gruesome as it was beautiful in a way.
Yes. It is beautiful in its brutality.
Yeah.
All right, so then my number one was Resident Evil 2, the remake. That was the one. Now I love The Last of Us 2, and I think the reason that Resident Evil 2 rose above it is the fact that it was just such a WTF moment. Like if we started in the FPS of a rat, and like so like you're trying to figure out what's going on, and then the moment the zombie bit into the person's neck, that's when I was like, what no, oh my god, I'm just like yelling at the top of my lungs. I'm just like, it was it was definitely my favorite moment because it was just like something I didn't expect. And I think that's another reason why Last of Us didn't necessarily make my list, is because I was expecting it. It was absolutely awesome. And if I'm being honest, it's probably at least my number 2. But because I was expecting it, it was kind of just like, that was really nice to look at. And I very much enjoyed that. But Resident Evil 2 was a moment like I think we all wanted, and because we hadn't heard the progress on the remake for a while. We heard that it existed, but we haven't heard from it in a while. So then having such an interesting thing, and then the way they revealed Leon was just like, hell yeah, man. Hell yeah.
Yeah, it looked really cool. I'm excited to see where they go with it because they did a really good job with Resident Evil, the remake, the first one. So
right, and this one looks like a straight up all remake because at least the first one, it was still the tank controls and stuff like that. But from the looks of it, this one actually looks like it's now, kind of like Resident Evil 4, where it's over the shoulder.
Yeah, that's kind of the vibe I got as well.
Well, good.
Yep.
That's really all my thoughts on
it. So, what is your guys' favorite? What's your top 3 of E3? Tell us know in the comments below, or you can tweet at us at TX3 Productions. And the last thing we're going to talk about today is our comic book club. All right, so Nate, how far into that first volume did you get?
I got about halfway, little over halfway.
Good.
Like I said before, I've been busy, so I haven't been able to sink into it as much as I would like to. I'm hoping though that I can kind of binge through the majority of what they have on Comixology, because when I move, I'm not going to have a job, so I'll have a lot more free time.
Yeah.
But for me in particular, I think. Well, what about you? Did you finish it?
I got further than you. I want to say I only have like one more chapter to go. I think I'm on the last chapter, so I didn't quite finish it, but I'm definitely digging it. Like, thank you, Pete, if you're listening. Thank you so much. Very good recommendation. And I said this last episode. I was looking for an excuse to get back into comic books. And so that was part of the reason I created the comic book club segment, so that I could get back into it. And I think this was a perfect return.
Yeah, being thrown back into comic books happened about a little under a year ago with Invincible. I had finally picked it up, so we may have to do that next if not everybody's caught up on Invincible. I'm not, but I started it a while back ago, and I really enjoyed what I read.
Definitely.
As far as Saga goes, right off the bat, the thing I really like about it is, and this is like the filmmaker in me. First off, I love the way it looks. The
Definitely.
art,
Yep.
It's so simple. The way that the what's the word I'm looking for? The individual scenes on the comic.
Yeah. Panels.
What the way each panel looks, the way it's framed, looks very cinema-like. Like
yes.
it's perfectly framed to show that part of the scene. And then I also love how it's a fantasy book, but yet it feels like fantasy is just like a side item to it. Like it's a real story between these characters, just set in a fantasy kind of setting.
Right. Which I think conceptually, that's the best thing you can do, is have this really cool concept and it intrigues you, but it's not the main focus. Like, some movies make that mistake, I think, is that they make the wondrousness of the world the focus. Like, I think Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, the first one, was an awesome movie, but I felt like maybe it indulged too much. And considering that this was technically our 9th film in the Harry Potter franchise, we didn't need it as much. It was still nice because it was a return to the Harry Potter universe, but I don't think we needed it that much. Whereas, just like you said, this is a lot more subtle. It's like, yeah, there's a guy with horns and a girl with wings, but that they're not pulling the focus to that rather than the what's going on with the characters and the struggle that they're having. Real fast, FatalOtaku. Yep. I didn't want to leave you out. Did you get to it? I know you kind of mentioned that you didn't really get that far into it.
Yeah, I didn't have a lot of time to really jump into it. Like we talked just a couple days ago, and I've just been consumed with E3. But,
no problem.
Hearing what you guys are talking about, it sounds like something I could really jump into and start checking out, because I got that unlimited Comixology.
Hell yeah, first volume you get for it, and then I think after that is when you have to start paying. This might be one that I do want to keep reading, so I might want to go ahead and fork up a little bit extra, because so far what I've read is really cool, and it's in a world that like I've kind of dreamt up myself, a mix between sci-fi and fantasy, because we have like I think it's called like a fawn, where it's like a goat man, and then we also have like I don't know if she's like a succubus or something, but she has wings, and so and then they have like these weird computer face people like it's their face is a monitor, which is a really interesting way to have a robot, because like if you think about it, that's very much like how the 1950s would have looked at a robot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like in Fallout is in the future, quote unquote, but it's in the future the way the 1950s would have looked at the future. And so I'm kind of getting that same vibe when I see that guy with the TV for his face.
Yeah. I also like how real the book is, like especially when you started out. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm not going to spoil the very beginning of the book, but it
well, this is the comic book club. Hopefully everybody would have read it because we asked them to.
All right, that's fair. The fact that it basically starts out her screaming, "Oh, she's giving birth."
Right.
Like the process of her giving birth and him kind of, helping her through it, and just like I like when a comic book isn't afraid to like take it towards that R rating, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like and just having that right off of the first few pages was very like, okay, interesting. I like this.
Right. And I mean, even though there are like nude scenes or whatever, I don't feel like they're gratuitous. Like the one guy, he ends up going to like a sex planet or whatever, and that's maybe a little gratuitous, but also like, it's not too. It's not necessarily having boobies to have boobies. Like some comics, it's just like, look, I'm drawing boobies, and like that's why they're in the comic. Whereas this, it very well establishes, and it doesn't seem too gratuitous. It doesn't seem just like, oh well, what the heck, it's not like you're watching an episode of Game of Thrones and you're just like, oh, boobs, okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I really do like that about it, as far as like the matureness of it. I do also appreciate mature. Like a good example, I think, is Invincible. Invincible will have such gratuitous violence, but when it comes to a sex scene, they'll pull away, and they'll use the excuse that, hey, this is a comic book for kids. It's like you'll see so much blood, but then when it first comes to maybe just a little bit of skin, they're like, oh no, let's look away, kids.
Yeah.
And that kind of throws me out of it. I know that's a nitpicky thing, but seriously, it's like, you're gonna like, there's one time, like, I think Invincible went up against one of the people from his planet, and he fucked up his hand and he fucked up his head, because after he broke his hands, he just started headbutting the guy, and he is fucked up. But then he wants to go have sex with his girlfriend, and it's like, no, let's go. What's happening over here? So I don't know. Yeah, I really like it. So, what would you say is the thing you love about it the most?
Just the world it puts me in. I mean, it does a very good job of putting me into this atmosphere that I just want to get sucked into. Like a lot of other comics I've read kind of have a hard time pulling me in, and like it's like I love the Scott Snyder Batman New 52 run, and for most of the books in that collection, like I'm invested in that world of the comic, but depending on the issue and like the whole 0 year thing that they introduce, it throws me out because I'm like, wait, none of that makes sense chronologically. Like, how does that tie in? Like, we were just in one place and now we're in another? But with Saga, like I'm invested in this world, and it's kind of, I guess in a way, and I guess a good comic would have to do this, but it's giving me I'm giving it the same sort of attention I would a TV show or a video game. Where it's like I want to know more. I want to see where this goes. Like I want to give this my full attention instead of I have a few minutes. Let me read my book. You know.
Right. Yeah. And I have to agree with you as far as the world goes. And I think because it's set in such a fantastical place, because it's, because we have this one girl who has like 8 legs and she's a bounty hunter, and then we have this other it's a sex dungeon, and like it's a giant head with no torso, and it's like, whoa, what the heck? This fantastical world that it puts it in. And I think the most appreciative thing I could say about it is the fact that it's showing and not telling. It's not going through these long monologues trying to explain what's going on. There's a little bit of exposition at the very beginning saying, my father was born here and then he went over here. They fought a war or something like that. Other than that, a lot of the exposition comes from the dialogue. And when you do that correctly, it seems natural. It doesn't seem forced. It doesn't seem like they're trying to tell you what happened 10 years ago. It just naturally comes up. And that type of dialogue is very nice. Also, I do like the subtle twist that the narrator is your daughter. I thought that was kind of cool. They're like, oh, this is your daughter that's talking. And so it's like you're getting told the story through what her parents told her. So you're getting a very interesting perspective, sort of. So it's like she's gathering the information from all the other places, and having that kind of narrator is a little cool. Plus the way they do it, like somebody actually hand wrote it, is also kind of cool. But honestly, I think one thing that I absolutely love is the characters. Pete was absolutely right. This speaks to me, because not only am I a dad, but I am a father of a daughter. So having these people have a daughter really spoke to me and really like invests me even further into these characters. And so, I really like that aspect of it. The fact that we're following parents and, they're struggling to survive and everything. So that just adds a little bit of an emotional attachment, which makes it even more addicting.
Agreed. Yeah, I that's been a theme the past 2 shows we've done recently, is you've gone on very good, well-worded monologues, and I'm just left going, no, I agree.
Yeah, definitely. I just gotta stop being so good at what I do. So what would be like something you don't like about it, something that maybe needs improvement?
As of right now, I don't really have anything. And that's primarily because this is a different comic than I've read before. Mm-hmm. I have much more complaints about that, even that Scott Snyder Batman run. I have more complaints with that because they don't do a good job of explaining to you that, oh, wait, this was set in a different time period.
Right.
And so that it was a little more egregious in that sense. And I understand that can be comic books, but there's a different subsect of comic books that Saga and Invincible fit in, that they're these concise stories, whereas you have the DCs and Marvels that fall into the comic tropes of, oh, hey, story, single story, cataclysmic event, erase everything, new single story. Mm-hmm. And so I'm slowly falling into the more like concise path, because those are the books that I want to read. I don't want to read something that I'm not going to be able to understand later on down the line.
Yeah. For me, I think the only thing I don't like, and this is I had to really dig deep to even think about this. But I think the only thing I don't like is maybe there it can be very talk heavy, I guess, and not a lot is actually happening. Like they were stuck in the forest for a really long time, but like I said, I had to really dig deep for that, because even if it does start getting slightly boring, they changed the scene to like the people who are hunting them, and I'm thrust right back into something interesting. So they never dwindle on something, so that even that complaint is a very, very small complaint, because overall it's just really good. So we might have already asked this question, or we might have already answered this question, but how likely are you to recommend and keep reading this series?
I'm pretty high on both. I would say I would recommend it to somebody else, and I do plan on continuing to read. Like I said, I hopefully will be able to read a lot more, and maybe some other volumes in this next coming week. So,
yeah, definitely recommend this. If you haven't already read it, and if you are reading it, I'm definitely going to keep reading. I mean, I don't know if we'll necessarily touch back on this, other than maybe the next time we have Comic Book Club, we'll mention where we are in it or something. I'm not too sure how we'll do that, but for Volume 1, very good, very much like it. So yeah, I mean, highly recommend, and there's a very high chance that, like I said, I might go ahead and pony up it's not even that expensive with Comixology. That's one of the benefits to it. Which, can we talk about Comixology? I wish they were a sponsor, just so I could tell you how awesome they are. I really like the guided reading. Is that what you use?
That's what I use on when I use Comixology.
Yeah, so cool. Like, this is definitely something I wish I would have seen before, because I'm like, this is so cool.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a great, like, sometimes for some books I won't use it, because I kind of want to know what's going on in the entirety of the scene, but for Saga and for Invincible, I've used it because I kind of want it to be cinematic the way I'm reading it.
Oh yeah, and they do a really good job of, like, sometimes they'll zoom into a certain part and they'll show the dialogue button, and then only after you tap will it show the entire panel to reveal what's going on. And it's like, it's very smart how they do that, because there's sometimes that they'll just show the entire panel from the very beginning, and it's just like, okay, they're talking in an area. But then it's very smart and intuitive as to, sometimes it'll zoom into like just a person's face, like, oh my God, I cannot believe this happened. And then it'll zoom out and show you what's happening. It's like, the way it does that, like, almost makes me discover it in a new way, versus if I would be reading it like on a page, for instance. As soon as I flip a page, this is a perfect example. As soon as I flip a page and there's this big monumental thing happen, but maybe it's on the right side, but I'm supposed to be reading on the left side, it's like, I've already seen what happened on the right side, so it's like, it's almost like it's spoiled, like, whoa, how did it get there? Whereas here, being able to have the guided reading, I really like it, because like, I don't have to get something spoiled for me down the road. It's like in Walking Dead, like, if the left panel is a bunch of talking and then the right panel, like, somebody dies, like, it's so weird knowing that it's coming, because I accidentally shifted my eyes to the right.
Right.
So, I mean, usually they're pretty good about stuff like that, as far as like, they want you to be able to turn the page and then have something but every once in a while it happens where the right side shows something that it's like, oh, I wish I wouldn't have looked at that until the appropriate time. So yeah, it's just something cool. So, all right, so that is our impressions on the comic book Saga. That is the first volume. So if you have read it, let us know. You can go to our Twitter at TX3 Productions. And at the top of that will be our Discord if you'd like to join us there, or in the description below will also be our Discord. We always have discussions going on there, and so if you'd like to, there is a channel just for the comic book. And so we'll also be choosing another one. This will probably be like a once a month thing, so we won't choose another comic book this time, but our next episode we'll choose the next comic book. So you can go there and join in the discussion. Also go to Threat X3 Productions on YouTube, and you can check out the video version of this or some gameplay. We are going to be starting having some more kind of docu-series, or no, well, I guess it's not it's more of a like, I'm just thinking about things. So but look out for that. And obviously, if you like anything Ubisoft, like Division and Rainbow Six Siege, you can go ahead and go to Ubi Chat, and that is our other podcast, so you can check that out. And once again, I'll just pimp out my daily grind. Mondays, Division, Tuesdays, Elder Scrolls Online, Wednesdays, Rainbow Six Siege, and Thursdays, I'm just going to keep it open. So if you do join me on Discord, I'll always let people know when I'm going to be starting, and you can join in if you're on the PlayStation 4. Hopefully, eventually, we'll also get some Xbox love out there for you guys, because, I mean, I'm not against it, obviously, and some PC love. Like maybe Nate, once he gets moved and gets settled, we'll have you do some PC stuff for them. Sound good?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
that sounds good.
Sweet. Alrighty, so thank you so much for joining us. Right before we leave, FatalOtaku, go ahead and let people know where they can find you.
If you guys want to find me on Twitter, you can find me at Adam Betcher. That's AdamBettcher. And I mostly post when I go live on my Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/FatalOtaku, FatalOtaku, where I stream JRPGs for the most part, and maybe a little bit of a Fortnite as well. So if you like anime and you like JRPGs, feel free to follow me there.
All right, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, all right, so this has been Nerd3. And this is where you have heard where the word is nerd.
Or the bird.
Or the bird. Bird. Bird's the
Bird
word.
is the word. Bird.
Oh, you know what? Nerd points. I think it goes to otaku.
Yeah. I'll give it to otaku.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you guys.
You had some good insights, and you made me laugh a couple times. So
you don't get for it though. So
yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
That was kind of like, that was the first inception of the idea. It's like, welcome to Nerd3, where the points don't matter. But it's like, I don't want it to be like that. All right, guys, I'm just going to chime in here real fast. After editing, it actually looks like more me and Nate kind of tied this episode. But also, it might just be a way for our audience to interact with us. Maybe you guys can keep track of how many times we came up with really good stuff and how many times we made each other laugh. And maybe you guys can also let us know. You can keep us honest and let us know who actually won. Otherwise, it's FatalOtaku. All right, you guys have a good day.